Hello everyone, welcome back to the Frugal Filmmaker. Where am I? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Frugal Filmmaker Q&A. That's the show where you send me a filmmaking question and I do my best to answer it. Remember, if you'd like your question read on the show, to send me an email to thefrugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. That's your best chance you have of getting your question read on the show. Or you can leave a comment below, or you can send me a message on Twitter @FrugalFilmmaker. My video last week was a review of the Saramonic SR-AX101, which is an XLR passive mixer that attaches to your camera or audio recorder, and it converts XLR audio, balanced audio, into unbalanced audio that you can run into your camera or your recorder if it uses an 1/8" audio input. So I look at that mixer and check it out compared to my old one. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, check out that video. All right, so on to the questions. We start with email from Rommel Huddleston, who says, how do you write simple dialogue for a short? I'm not a good writer, but I have a short in mind and shot list down. I'm just having trouble filling in the gaps. Obviously, dialogue is really important. It represents everything that your character is thinking or feeling. It can be very complex. It can be very simple. You're obviously asking for a simple dialogue. How do you write simple dialogue? Well, I would kind of bundle that into a bigger question is, how do you write any dialogue? I mean, you want to write good dialogue, and whether it's simple or complex, it still needs to be good or convincing. Who is your character? How do they feel? What do they want? What is driving them? As a result of wanting something to come out of your character, even if it's incredibly simple, it needs to be something that's convincing. It needs to be something that makes sense. It needs to be something that plays into the context of your script so that it has meaning. And even though sometimes words might mean nothing, or a character might be saying something that they don't actually mean, they still need to be saying something that propels the story forward or propels their goals forward, whether they're a protagonist or an antagonist. So I guess what I'm trying to say after saying all of this stuff is that you need to be able to get to know your characters before you can be able to know what they are saying or what they need to say. So how do you get to know your characters? Even if you just have a simple understanding of who they are, then I promise you that when you get to the point of actually writing what they are going to say in a specific scene of a specific story, that those words will just come to you. And I know this kind of sounds sort of, ethereal and mystical and everything. Think about this character, spend some time with them in your head, but it's really only after you've done the legwork in your mind that these things will come to you, I promise. Next up, we have Emery Sly, who says, I don't understand all the noise about making video look like film. There's no big rush in the still photo industry to make prints look like daguerreotypes or tintypes, so what's all this look like film nonsense about? A creative cinematographer can do much more with video than film would ever allow. My opinion on this is that you can make a movie with any kind of camera, but it's going to look different. If you shoot a film on a cell phone, it's going to look different than if you shoot a film on an Arri Alexa. My personal feeling is that if I'm making a narrative story, I want something that looks filmish, and what I mean by that is I want something that looks warm versus something that looks electronic. If you turn on the news every night, you're watching something that's shot with video cameras, video studio cameras. It just looks really electronic, very cold. Where film, if you see something in a theater, of course it's been shot on digital video most likely, but it's also been color graded and it looks warm, it looks inviting. Even if the situation in the movie is cold, maybe they're at a cold planet, for example, or they're out in winter, or it's just cold emotionally. Is one better than the other? Well, I prefer a filmish or a warmer look just because I think it's better for storytelling versus something that's electronic or cold, which seems to be completely ingrained in our minds as far as that's what the news looks like, or soap operas. So I don't really like that. I know recently, Peter Jackson did the whole 48 frames per second. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you tell your story and you pick the right tools to tell the best story possible. Okay, enough theorizing. Let's get technical. We have a question from Jake Kasanoff, or William Jakespeare on YouTube. Check out his channel, it's a good one. I shot a bumper a little while ago using a slate in my H4n to record audio. In post, I matched up the H4n waveform to the camera waveform, but it still looks a little off to me. I think this is because the camera was farther away than the H4n. Should I be synchronizing to the image of the sticks hitting the slate instead of the camera's waveform? I would be really surprised if syncing to the sticks hitting together is really any different than syncing to your camera's waveform. Although, as you point out, if the camera and the H4n are in different positions, I would be more suspect of the recorder itself. I almost wonder if maybe you're recording at a different frequency than you should be, or you're recording at 48 kilohertz, which is kind of the normal digital video standard. I've seen where other people accidentally record at the wrong frequency or a different frequency than what is expected in post, and then you get some drift because the frequencies are different, so they just don't line up. 48 kilohertz is always kind of the standard. That's what your camera is going to be recording audio at, and that's what you should be recording audio at externally. I'm open, of course, to other opinions out there, but that seems to be a common problem. But if it's not a long take, then maybe that doesn't matter as much. But that's what I would check out. Oliver Mitchell is next, and he says, hey man, I have a time-lapse shot I want to get in the middle of the road where the camera tilts down, then back up. I have two problems: how to get permission to film in a road, and how to get the tilt frugally. I found heads that support my DSLR but only pan, nothing cheap for tilt. Any ideas? This can be a tricky situation. Just having anything in the middle of the road is going to be tricky. You're going to have to ask permission from the authorities, because it's not like you're just going to do maybe a shot there for a day, or you're going to have people there, maybe cones in the road, which is what I've done in the past. I haven't been in the middle of the road. I've been like on the side of the road and had cones so people would know, hey, watch out, there's a camera crew over here, along with signs and everything else. Maybe something you could do is maybe put the camera away from the road and use just a longer lens, so you're actually shooting further into the space that you want to shoot over time versus actually being there, so you're not obscuring traffic. Now, my first thought was you could just take an inexpensive panning time-lapse head and tilt it on its side, and that would be your tilt. But you want to tilt up and down over time, which is something that you're not going to be able to do with a typical timer or pan timer. So you might have to get into something that's computer controlled, which is going to be more expensive, and I'm not exactly sure what you would do for that. If you were able to create some kind of hardware that would do this, I'm sure there's probably some out there. I don't exactly know, but it sounds like you want a computer-controlled device, because you want it to tilt up at a certain time and then tilt back down. So Oliver, I'm not exactly sure what to tell you, but there might be somebody out there watching right now who can and could leave a comment that could help you. So please comment below if you know how you can help Oliver figure something out where you can use a tilting head over time on a time-lapse situation. Jim Miller writes in and says, I will soon be buying my first C-stand and know nothing about them. I don't know what attachments are needed, how to use the arm that comes with it, etc. Is there a good source to learn about all grip items other than months or years of film school? Let me just say first off that you cannot go wrong in investing in a C-stand. It's the Swiss Army knife of grip equipment. It has 1,001 uses. You can put light modifiers on it, you can put lights on it, you can hold backgrounds on it. You can do all kinds of things. The disadvantage of a C-stand is that they're really big and unwieldy, and they're expensive, $150 and up. So you have to keep that in mind. Plus you have to be able to transport them, like in a truck or a car, maybe, if you have enough room. I mean, they're real unwieldy. I made a video a while back called The Poor Man's C-Stand about using a mic stand for simple C-stand duties, but really nothing can replace a C-stand. It's really effective. I personally don't have access to C-stands, so I can't make a video about it, but there are lots of videos on YouTube about how to use a C-stand. In fact, Shane Hurlbut, who's a cinematographer, working cinematographer, has a pretty good video about the C-stand basics you should probably check out. I'll leave a link below in the description. He's worked on all kinds of movies as a professional cinematographer: Need for Speed, Terminator Salvation, Into the Blue. I mean, he's got no shortage of experience, and he knows what he's talking about, so you can definitely trust him. But he covers the basics really well in that video, so check that out. That's all the questions we had this week. I'd like to thank everyone who writing in. I really appreciate it. Really good questions, always really interesting and different, and always giving me interesting things to think about and hopefully share with you so that you can learn something as well. If you'd like your question read on the show, please send me an email to thefrugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. That's your best chance you have of getting your question read on the show. Or you can comment below, or you can send me a message on Twitter @FrugalFilmmaker. This next week we'll have another official Frugal Filmmaker video, and then the following Tuesday, another Q&A. It's very late. I'm very tired. I'll see you then. Bye.